A win is a win, but that's about as shaky as you can make it look there. Eagles win over the Idaho Steelheads 3-2 in Game 3 to go up 3-0 in the series. After the 6-2 domination of Game 2, the Eagles go on the road in this one, and they just looked completely out of their element for most of this game. The first few minutes of the first were fantastic, though. They came out swinging and got a couple of very good chances, they just didn't score on them. And then from there, it was basically 10 minutes straight of Idaho dominating the play. Thankfully, even with the Eagles struggling in front of him, Joe Kanata continued his dominating performance. He faced 15 shots in the first period, and he would stop all of them. With Idaho dominating, the Eagles do have to kill off one penalty in the first, but they managed to do so. And then around 7-8 minutes left in the first, the Eagles finally start getting a little bit of traction. It wasn't great, but they at least started to get some spot offense instead of just none at all. At one point, shots were 11-4 in Idaho's favor during the first period, but the Eagles weathered the storm, and as they usually rely on in these cases, they get an individual effort from Michael Jolie. Register starts this playoff nicely with a good bank breakout pass up to the far blue line where Jolie is waiting. Once Jolie collects it, he skates into the zone and turns on the Jets. He gets the edge here and slows up a bit, but still powers his way to the front of the net past the defenseman, and then gets DeRosier to bite just enough to put this one through the 5-hole. We've definitely seen Jolie's ability to do moves like that cut down a little bit in the playoffs, but he's still able to do it a couple times a series, and he has come up big a few times now for the Eagles to get him going a little bit. It was certainly a big one here at the very least, as the Eagles finally showed a little bit of life after that goal. In fact, they had a good chance to get up 2-0 right at the end of the first, but DeRosier absolutely robbed Rattel. You'll take the 1-0 lead after that super weak period. The second period was definitely the Eagles' best period of the game. They outshot Idaho 10-6. It just wasn't a very exciting one. The first 5 minutes was a total snooze fest for both sides, but then the man of the hour in this game stepped up for the Eagles. JC Beaudin pretty much carried the Eagles offensively all game long in this one. Colin Bowman just rips a shot from the far point that misses on the near side. It rims around, and the Steelheads initially collect, but Nantel, with great pressure on the forecheck, pokes it free down to the corner where he can collect it. From there, he looks up and sees Beaudin streaking in towards the slot. A great pass finds Beaudin here, and Beaudin is just a sniper from that circle, picking the corner off the post. JC's shot is proving to be absolutely lethal through these playoffs, and it's not only that. His name was pretty much the only one that consistently showed up generating offense across this game for the Eagles. While he wasn't involved in the first goal, he was out on the ice for that one as well, and he would be involved later on that we will get to. So once again, getting a goal seems to jumpstart the Eagles a bit, and they seem to be getting the better of the play through the first half of the second period, including drawing a power play. They just couldn't manage to score on that one. And then things really slowed down and got wonky in the second half of the second period. There were a ton of penalties handed out to both sides, including matching minors and power plays going back and forth both ways. Just a lot of whistles and no consistency or flow to the game at all. The good news is, for the most part, the Eagles seem to control the play through this section, but the bad news is they just really didn't do a whole lot either. Near the end of the second, the Eagles did get themselves in a little bit of trouble, giving the Steelheads 25 seconds of 5-on-3 time, but as always, they seem to squirm their way out of it as the PK bails them out. And so, while it was another weird period for the Eagles that you're not super happy with how they played, you're happy with the result. Up 2-0 after 2 on the road, you'll take that any game. The third period started off fantastically. Once again, JC Beaudin just showed up and did work to score what would be the eventual game-winning goal. The Eagles clear a puck from their own zone here. It looks like Sweetman should be able to control this one in the neutral zone, but Beaudin, with an extremely aggressive forecheck, does a good job to get his stick on the puck. That knocks it loose enough to where he can collect it and get around Sweetman. From there, instead of trying another dangle, Beaudin knows he has got DeRosier's number with his shot, so he just pulls it and lets one rip and beats DeRosier on the blocker side. Sniped. So as a 20-year-old rookie in the ECHL, Beaudin not only leads the Colorado Eagles in every scoring category essentially, but he also leads the entire league in goals with 8 now, and 12 points puts him at the top of the entire league in the playoffs. The kid is just a beast right now. Games 2 and 3 of this series probably look very, very different if Beaudin isn't in the Eagles lineup. Thankfully he is, and the Eagles are now up 3-0 in this one with less than 20 minutes to play. The problem is, the Eagles completely left their foot off of the gas after that third goal. That was their first shot of the third period, and they would only record a single shot more through the rest of it. Meanwhile, Idaho would put up 16 shots in the third period. The Eagles just fell back into that overly safe, dump it out, don't even try and play offensive hockey. Just not good enough. And we've talked about it before, sometimes the best way to play safe hockey is to just keep pressuring on offense. Make sure that they don't get the chances in the offensive zone, you do. So with the Eagles opting not to possess the puck basically ever again in this game, the Steelheads spend way too much time in the offensive zone. That leads to Eagles taking penalties. They manage to kill the first one they take, but finally, the second penalty they take of the period comes to bite them. The Eagles just get a bit unlucky here. French's pass was intended for Brassart in the low slot here, but Register gets his stick on it, which is a good play. Unfortunately, that deflection ends up going right to McParland, who is cheating down towards the far post. He has plenty of time unattended there because of the power play, and he just lifts it up and over Kanata. And I think this was a good lesson to learn for the Eagles. They've been relying on their penalty kill way too much up to this point in the playoffs, and the penalty finally ended up costing them a bit here. Obviously, you never want to give up a goal, but when you have a 3-0 lead later in the third period, it's not the worst time in the world to do it. The problem was, now it's a 2-goal game, and the Eagles still can't seem to find that gas pedal for the rest of the third period. It's still Idaho all the way down as the clock keeps ticking. Idaho even ends up taking a too many men penalty with about 5 minutes left in the game, and you still don't see any killer instinct at all from the Eagles. They don't even really try to play offense on the power play. They just pass it around and take the 2 minutes off of the clock. Now, I understand not wanting to take any risks as the Eagles, but you shouldn't have any trouble gaining the offensive zone on the power play. You have an extra man out there. You're better than that. And what happens when you let a team hang around late in games? Well, they pull the goalie, they keep it in the offensive zone, the Eagles fail on multiple attempts to clear, and then all of a sudden, it's a 1-goal game. With the Eagles unable to get the puck out, they're starting to get tired in their own zone, and with 6 men out for the Steelheads, they just have the advantage here. Faust is going to throw a shot towards the net. It misses wide, but the rebound comes off the backboards hard to the far side where Yuli is waiting to throw it in. That's exactly how greasy goals get scored. You keep it in the zone, the defensive team gets tired, and eventually they're just not where they need to be, and it ends up in the back of the net. The Eagles really needed to get one of those clears out there. It was a frustrating third period just because we know the Eagles are better than that. The last time they were held to 2 shots in a period, I can't even remember, honestly. Definitely some work to do for this Eagles teams playing with the lead. They way too often let teams back into games. Thankfully here, the comeback bid would be stopped, and Idaho really wouldn't even get a decent look at trying to tie this game in the last minute and 40 seconds. Not a pretty one. Definitely a lot of situations you can improve on, but at the end of the day, you get the win and are now in complete command of this series. Outside of Kanata and Beaudin, and to a bit of a lesser extent Jolie, we definitely need some players to step up for the Eagles in Game 4 and going forward. Don't take this Steelheads team lightly. We know what they're capable of. Make sure you close out this series before you start thinking about the next one. That is the end of this playoff game video review. Thank you for watching. I'm Rudo3, and it's starting to get a bit warmer out.